Hey, how's everybody doing today? This is Rich here on behalf of Rich TV Live with our very special guest, longtime guest, Kiran Sidhu, CEO of Halo Labs. How you doing today, Kiran?
I'm doing well. I've driven since Sunday about 1,000 miles. I
Wow.
started in Nevada. Then I went to our facilities in California, and now I've ended up in our facility in Medford, Oregon.
And you guys look pretty busy over there.
Oh, we are busy. We are rocking. Let me show you.
Wow.
It is like it is crazy busy.
Wow. So let me ask you a question.
I just want people to visibly see how busy it is.
No, this is great.
Yeah, this is a 15,000 square foot facility, and as I do this and I walk around and just show everyone, that here's the level of activity.
Can you go a little bit slower? Go a little bit slower
Sure,
and
sure,
explain what you guys are doing and like what the stations are.
This is what we call gramming out live resin. We're big concentrate makers.
Oh wow.
So she's gramming it out right now, and she's going to try to hit that to about a 1. And I know it doesn't look like a perfect science, but with live resin and with quartz and with shatter, which is over here, you want to pop that up real quick? That's a hardened version of live resin, which is here. The best way we've learned to gram it out is not automated, since we've been at this since 2013, but to actually do it old school. We find the same thing with quartz. But as you can see as I walk around, the activity is normal, if not a little bit more right now, as people continue to stock up on marijuana products. And the factory floor, we're working overtime to just keep up with demand right now. So put it this way, it's 12 to 1 here on the West Coast. This is lunch hour.
Wow.
Right? And people are just cranking away.
That's incredible. That was something
from
this was something
pre-rolls,
wow, look at the pre-rolls, guys.
Right? Everything from pre-rolls to flour, right?
Let's take a look at the flour. Can you zoom in there?
Yep.
Look
there
at
you
that.
Go, sure.
Look at the flour, guys.
This is sun-grown, outdoor, Emerald Triangle, Oregon, cannabis. All hand-trimmed. Right?
And how many people do you have working right there right now?
I would guess probably about 50.
Wow.
50 people right now during lunch. Right?
Now, have you noticed, and I've heard this from many companies, that you're getting more sales now that we've had these issues with the coronavirus? That there's actually more sales?
Yeah, so let's take it state by state. So in Nevada, we were basically at a standstill until this happened, and now we're getting some orders, and we've actually reinitiated our Nevada operation, and we're delivering product to dispensaries. We were looking at Nevada more as license value, but since this has happened, we've taken an opportunity to sort of go about doing that. Now I'll flip back over to me.
No, the people that are watching are loving it. They're like, hey, this is like, they're calling it, this is like some of the best thing they've ever seen, because nobody's ever shown the inside of a facility like this on our show.
Well, that's a pity. Let me show you. I can show you guys where it all starts, but I can't go in because it's where we actually take the product and bring it into oil or live resin, which is known as blasting. So we're known as blasters, and most people on the West Coast are blasters. And that's one thing that that Toby at Valens was talking about, that he's one of the only guys in Canada to have the capability to blast. But we store connexes, these huge connexes, and we have 3 of them, right here. And this is our 4th. And these things, this is where we put the marijuana in.
So they're like trailers. They're like trailers.
Right. And this is what's known as trim, right? So this is the stuff that we blast. We never blast the flower, right?
Of course.
So we take the trim and we grind it up, and then we bring it into our blasting room, right? I cannot bring the phone in there, so I can just show you from outside. And this basically is a 4, 2, and 0 in cryogenic. And that 4, what a fire marshal once told me was, he said that 4, what it means is that if they're ever called to a fire in this room, there's a 25% chance that not all the firemen would come out alive. That's why I have to be really careful here.
Wow.
Right? So remember, it's lunchtime, but this is like an air-proof room where we actually make the oil and the rest and everything, and then we dry it out and oven it later. But yeah, so this is just our courtyard here where we store all our stuff.
Wow.
But as you can see, this is about I think 14 to 15,000 square foot facility, and it's just jammed.
It's a big operation.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's one of the largest.
It's probably the largest, one of the largest, if not I'd say second to Cura. They have a pretty big operation up in Portland. But I'd say this is probably the second largest operation in Oregon.
Wow. And Oregon,
in terms of oil and concentrate manufacturing, for sure.
And Oregon is it the number 1 state in America with sales, with cannabis sales?
No, I'd say the number 1
Colorado?
state in America is definitely California.
California.
Oregon's probably top 4 or 5. I think it goes California, Washington, Colorado, then Oregon. But don't quote me on that.
Let me ask you a question. I didn't want to ask you around all your workers, but
right.
How is this coronavirus potentially, like, would there ever be a situation where you can't operate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We talk about that. So, for instance, if there was a case of coronavirus within this facility, then maybe the OHA or the ODA, Oregon Health Authority or the ODA could potentially shut us down because we have an obligation to report that, right?
Of course.
That we were talking about that. So, we're initiating what everyone says, wash your hands at least, 4 to 5 times. We have a safety committee, led by our HR guy here. And, we just try to be safe, right? But obviously these are uncertain times. But, what I've noticed is that marijuana basically so far has been deemed a essential product. Like even in San Francisco, I just tweeted it, where they effectively shut down the dispensaries when they put shelter in place and called out, whatever they're doing there, called out the National Guard, what have you, and ordered everyone in their homes. Then they reversed course a day later and said that cannabis is essential. So therefore, you have pharmacies, you have grocery stores open, and you have, obviously hospitals, and you also have dispensaries open. But they're making sure that people maintain a certain distance. They're making sure that, they're encouraging people to pre-order. I was speaking to Rezwan Khan at OGDNA. He's with Don and Aaron. He's one of the top executives there. And he also is a owner in a company called Urban Leaf. And he said they've had historic days down in San Diego. And I've heard this from other people too, that
wow.
It's just been, and we're running full tilt here. Now, the question comes like, look, when people are locked down, what's going to happen? And what San Francisco has showed us is that, and every state will be different. And I can never assure you that Oregon will go the way that San Francisco's gone and California's going. But if marijuana is deemed, something essential, like medical, then I think we should be all right. Relatively speaking. To say that we go untouched would be naive at best. But so far right now, I'm surprised that, and I never thought conceptually about, the states actually seriously saying, marijuana is medical, but obviously they are. We have a lobbying group in place here in Oregon. And, we have people in Salem, which is the capital right now, lobbying, to do what Nevada did and do what California did and deem it, essential and not shut down the dispensaries, So that's where we're at. But yeah, no, obviously these are challenging. These are challenging times, right?
That would be a terrible situation because like people need their medicine.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking about that, and I was trying to think about like with these cannabis companies, like, are they going to be forced to shut down even though they're making medicine? And like those employees, they're being told to stay home now. Like, did you hear what Trudeau offered the Canadian people today? Like, it's a massive bailout. Like, essentially $450 a week, apparently, for 15 weeks. He's offering Canadians.
He's going to pay them to sit at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that as an employer? Like, if your employees are being told to go home, like as an employer, how do you deal with that? Like, are you
okay? So let's talk about Mendocino County and Ukiah, just where I was, or Jackson County right now here, or the city of Medford. Yeah. If marijuana is deemed an essential medicine, we're like a mask factory, right?
Yeah. So you guys are good to go.
Yeah. So we're not subject to the same curfews. You know, it's the same thing. The trucks are rolling. You know, when I was on the roads, I've never seen so many trucks, right? So the trucks are rolling. And if marijuana is deemed an essential service, we'll be all right, right?
Fantastic.
And it should be, you know, and I'm hopeful that Oregon does what California and Nevada have done. You know, and so be it cultivation, be it distribution, you know, everything will still continue to roll if it's deemed essential.
What's going on with the legalization of cannabis in America? It's kind of just gone quiet. Like, I've been doing some research on it, and it just seems like everything has gone really quiet. Like, I know that California became the first state to legalize medical cannabis with the approval of Proposition 215 in 1996. So we've come a really long way since medical cannabis, and California was the very first. So it's very interesting. Like doing some research that California was the very first state in 1996, and we've come such a long way now. And I'm looking at the list of all the states now, and we've gone through medical, and now we're going to recreational. It's come a long way, but still not getting over that hump. What do you think?
Well, so let's talk through that. So let's talk at a macro level, and I'll give you my view, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it looks like Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee, and it even looks like Sanders may pull out as early as in the next few days, right?
Yeah, because I mean, Biden's winning by a landslide anyway, so there's no use.
Yeah, but you have Biden as a centrist running against Trump, who's, you know, fairly conservative.
Yes.
And let's say it goes either way. There's a view that Trump, being so libertarian in his last term, may actually loosen stuff. But if it goes Biden's way and Congress swings, then we know we're inevitably headed towards federal legalization, right? So given everything that's going on, there's a lot of uncertainty, but you definitely have Biden, and you definitely have, Trump. And then the other thing, again, Rez was telling me to do was join a lobbying group that they have in Washington. And he met with McConnell personally, he said, a couple of weeks ago, before all of this hit. And they think they've come to some sort of agreement with the Senate, because remember, the Senate is Republican controlled, to get safe harbor through. And he says if safe harbor goes through, it'll be a revolution into itself, because it'll allow cross listings. We're eligible for bank loans. We're eligible for banking. We're eligible for credit cards. Right. So he says that the last thing that was an issue was a THC cap. And he explained to them that a THC cap is just completely illogical. But if we had childproof packaging, we have consistent labeling, we do this, we do that, it's much better. So having someone like him and a couple of the other guys who are what I call the legal eagles up there, and not so extreme left wing, but more conservative lawyers dealing with safe harbor, he thinks that safe harbor will pass. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty as to timing. I saw this morning that New York was going to vote on a full recreational bill, but that got deferred because of this whole COVID-19 issue. So obviously timing will be impacted, but it seems like Congress, or at least the Republican part of Congress, the Democratic part, the House already passed it, is willing to, consider strongly safe harbor.
Have you ever looked at working with Indian reserves or anything like that? Or is there a large Indian reserve business? Because here in Vancouver, from what I'm hearing, the Indian reserves are booming. Like there's cannabis everywhere in the Indian reserves.
Right.
Like it's everywhere. Is it like that over there?
Yeah, there's a big Indian reserve in Klamath Falls, and I forget the name of the cultivator, but there's a large cultivator there. 45th Parallel, I think, is the name. I can't remember it. And we buy a lot of bulk material from them. I mean, that's what we do. We buy a lot of bulk material from people who, for certain people who operate within Indian lands but are licensed by the OLCC, and what's in our system, what's known as Metric, our seed to sell tracking system. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of activity. And when I was on the road coming up, within my 1,000-mile drive, besides all the trucks I saw, the other thing that people were stocking up on was liquor. So, you have all these sorts of, between Oregon and California, you have a very large liquor store right on the border. And, there was a line out the door. And I've seen postings of the same sort of situation in California, where dispensaries are experiencing lines out the door. And we have a local dispensary here that one of our partners owns called Wicked Flower Shop, and his shelves are barren too. Wow. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, if people stock up now, what does that mean for the future?
Yeah. That's what this is what I'm thinking. Like, everyone's stocking up because it's the unknown, right? Everyone's like, we don't know what the next few weeks are going to look like, but we do know that the Canadian and the American leadership is telling everyone to go home. So what else are you going to do? You're going to drink, you're going to smoke, right? So
absolutely,
that's what people are going to do. And if you're doing that, guys that are watching, we have 56 people that are watching right now live. If you guys are doing that, please do that responsibly. Now, the markets are going through a recession. We went from, which is weird to say, because a month ago we were at all-time highs. So a month ago, 5 weeks ago, I think it was February 9th, the Dow hit 29,300. And now the Dow today hit 18,000. It's come back up a little bit. We're back to 19,500, but we're down 19,400. We're down 1,700 points on the Dow, 8%. What do you think's going on here? Like, you think we still have a long ways to go down? Because we're at the same prices we saw in 2017 now.
My personal view is that we are going to go down further. Today, in my mind, I worked in capital markets for a long time. I went to Wharton, was a banker at Merrill Lynch before becoming an entrepreneur at 25. But I've never seen a day like this before, where the stock market is down, treasury yields are up, oil has cratered to $20, gold is flat, and the treasury is out there. The Fed is out there purchasing $1 trillion of bonds, yet the yield is still going up because everyone is going to US dollars, right?
Yes.
So, and then I saw that the euro against the dollar broke 109. But that's all great on the macro level. But on my micro level, as a CEO of a marijuana company, capital markets have never been accessible to us. Banking is challenging. We're a very simple business. Grow it, manufacture it, pack it, and sell it, right? It's that simple. And collect the cash on it. So as long as we keep doing that, we'll be all right. And whether you consider us a medical stock or whether you consider us a sin stock, those stocks tend to do well during depressed or recessed times. or say, let's qualify it, not do well, but not do as poorly as others, right?
Because the reality is with this coronavirus is we're just getting started, and we have no idea how much economic turmoil we're going to go through because we're at the beginning of this. Like, we're in the first inning, right? We're literally in the first inning. Like, we have no idea what this means to our economy. And I can't even imagine what our economy is going to look like if people have to sit at home for 3 months. Now, the government is saying they're going to be, in Canada, giving people $450 a week for 15 weeks. So they're assuming that this is going to last for 4 months. That's a long time for the economy to shut down. Like,
well, there's a report out there by Neil Ferguson, who led the task force at Imperial College, that the U.S. and the UK government and the Canadian government is following the footprint of. If people read that report, it's kind of a shocker. It's saying that this could be an 18-month affair.
Oh my goodness!
Because they're saying that the only solution really is either a cure or a vaccine or both.
Correct.
And so the issue is that you can suppress the virus, but then it'll replicate. You can suppress it, it'll replicate. So what they're recommending is 3 months of strict quarantine, sort of like what they did in China. Then you release for a couple of weeks. You watch to see if people's patterns and behaviors have changed. But then you may have to go back into quarantine, depending on, what the virus does once it's suppressed. But it's just so early to know anything, is the way I view it. And the only way I view it is right now is we just got to continue to produce, continue to build inventory, continue to sell. And what's out of our control is out of our control. And what's in our control, we're going to do the best we can. We just keep fighting.
No, hey, that's the only thing you can do. That's the right attitude. Now, there's a question from one of our members, Ross, asking, Halo now has stores in Alberta. Are there any plans to enter the extraction game in Canada also?
What we're doing is you can see in Canada and in California, which we can't do in Oregon because we're so large already, is a verticalization strategy. And we decided to verticalize at first by going after dispensaries, which is the most profitable segment in Canada. And secondly, we went to Alberta because it's the most unloved. While everyone is talking about Ontario, we picked up doors at a fraction of the cost that we would have to in other places. The next step in Canada is to get our products listed and then to work with a white label manufacturer, or LP, as they're called in Canada, to produce our products under listing. And then inevitably, depending on where the market heads, we'll inevitably extract in Canada. But our view right now is there's excess LP capacity, yet dispensary capacity is still constrained.
Yes.
In California, as you see, we're also verticalizing. We're looking at the models that Urban Leaf, Connected, and Cookies have successfully implemented there. And we're trying to put together our own model where we're more vertically integrated from seed to sale in California. As I mentioned, in Oregon, you can't do that because we're so large now. We'll have big time issues with, our largest customer, Nectar, who's the largest dispensary chain here. We start opening dispensaries and competing with them, right? So those are things that we have to really, really consider.
I have another question for you. It's from Justin asking, can you give us an update on the Kaliva partnership? I see we sold out on Ease. More information on Nevada comments.
Yeah, so with Kaliva, right now they're implementing their platform Go Kaliva. So they've split with Ease, and there's Go Kaliva, and there's Kushgram, there's Ease. I think that we have to now reestablish with Go Kaliva, and I think our guys are on that because delivery in California will continue in any event. Ease has sold out, and that's really our fault because we had no idea what the demand would be and the velocity would be. And so that's why I went to Ukiah. We've been gearing up our, we started blasting again in Cathedral City. We're re-gearing up and making more distillate. The whole demand in California caught us by surprise, to be honest. And so, we've had to gear up, and we're gearing up. But right now we're, at max throughput in California, subject to more gearing.
Okay, thank you.
Nevada, we basically, we're going to, in our mind, sort of liquidate our licenses, because licenses have such high value in Nevada, even though there's a restriction on transfer. But then Andreas went down there and, went and visited a few dispensaries, and they said, look, we'd love to have your products back. We love your products. And so he's, reestablishing that Nevada business with a couple of larger clients like Cultivate, the dispensary, and some other people to get that going again. But Nevada has a little bit of uncertainty, and we'll finally find out where that lies, because basically Nevada is a tourist-based destination, at least Las Vegas is, and all the hotels and everything are shut down now. So, Nevada, we're seeing some orders, but, I don't know how much longer that'll continue. But Nevada isn't at this point under lockdown or anything like San Francisco, but inevitably it'll come. One place that's still rocking is Lesotho. Lesotho has one case. They've sealed their borders, but that's perfectly fine with us. We're growing there for export in the next, say, 90 days. And that's just cranking away. DNA's seeds have arrived. We're popping those. The plants look good. We're running out of storage space for our flower. It's all testing clean.
Very good.
All of that's looking good. We have the GACP underway with the Malta guys. And, South Africa seems to be looking good. It's really Lesotho, not South Africa. South Africa in and of itself is under shelter at home, but Lesotho is not.
Okay, because Nicholas
was
asking about power cuts affecting them.
Power cuts where?
I guess there's some power cuts.
Where?
In South Africa?
So with power cuts with us, we have a direct
generator?
Power every once in a while there when high winds come. And so we have backup generators for what we need.
Nice.
Right now. So we're okay there. But yeah, again, when you're working in Africa, you're going to have power cuts. You're going to have these issues, and you got to deal with them. Even in Ukiah during fire season, you got to have backup generators because PG&E cuts the power.
What do you think's going on with the cannabis sector? It seems like there's no end in sight right now. Do you think this is just kind of like a pile on now? Obviously, the cannabis sector's been down. Now we got the coronavirus, so everything else is going down. So you think this is just like cannabis sector's just going down because everything's going down? Or do you think there's just a real problem in the sector right now? And
I think it's risk off. And I think all of us in cannabis are really dependent on cash. Right. And there are only a couple of people who are truly profitable. And, that's True Relief being one that I can think of. But it's the question of who has cash and who doesn't. And, we just announced that we're doing a sub-debt offering, 11% coupon, 20% conversion, right, with a 40-cent force. And I think our stock's at 9 or 10 cents. But that's all insiders. That's being led by our new chairman, Louisa. We're like literally we're days away from central bank approval there. Then she'll lead that round with $1 million. I'll put in at least 100. A couple of other guys will put in a couple of hundred. Maybe we'll get it up to 1.5 million US. But it's just to show our shareholders that we stand beside them. Because a lot of shareholders are saying, why aren't you buying the stock? And the reason I'm not buying the stock right now is I can't. Because we're undergoing audits to report year end.
Makes sense. Now, we have a lot of members that really like you, and they're all saying how much they really like the fact that you're very transparent. Could you give them another tour of your facility?
Yeah, sure.
Because we got a lot of people watching that maybe didn't see when we first did the first tour.
Okay, so
just go nice and slow and show all the different stations.
Well, this is accounting. That's Suzanne. our controller. That's Don. He handles AR. Do you handle it in California and in or just in Oregon? Just Oregon. Oregon's a handful by itself. And then coming over here, as I did, this is our guys who run the operations, but they're out on lunch. It's lunch break. And that's HR back there for the factory. Here's part of our flower operation, which I showed you before, this is the final step, which is hand trimming, right? And then these are packaged into pound bags and sent off to dispensaries. We also started a pre-roll business when the vape crisis hit to diversify. So we make pre-rolls here. And then what's always been our core is our shatter business, right? Which is what we're known for. And this is our brand, Hush, which I think is one of the top brands in Oregon.
What's your THC levels like on your products?
Let's see. It should be on the packaging, right? Are we packaged? Let's see. Do we have this? Oh, here it is. Here, we can do it right here. This shatter is 62.5% THC.
Wow.
0.71% CBD.
Wow.
Remember, it's shatter. So it's different. You know, parts are normally 90%, right?
What about the pre-rolls? What type of THC you got with your pre-rolls?
My gut is it'll be around 20%, which is the same as flour.
Yeah.
This is live resin.
Good. That's pretty good.
Which is another 20%. Concentrate. And then this is our oil operation for parts. Right now, we're not running what we call our big BTAs. Each one of these machines are about $150,000.
Wow.
They come from Germany, and this is where we do our distillation.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And get this sort of stuff to 90% hard oil. And then all of this stuff on the floor, comes into our
vault.
Yeah, the vault is what you call it, right? And then from the vault, it goes out. You see all these tags. These are what's called RFID tags. And from the vaults, it goes out to the dispensary. So what they do is in this room, they pick the orders, and then the orders are laid out early in the morning on the floor before people come. And then our trucks come and take them all across the state. Wow. So this is where we actually make the live resin and the shatter. And we put them in pizza boxes. I don't my hands. You want to show them? So the shatter comes like this in pizza boxes.
Wow, that's great.
And then we take them out to the floor, out here, and gram them out. And then in here is our blasting room. I got to be careful coming through here. Actually, I can't come in this way.
And your vault is in lockdown. Like when you guys close the building, the vault is locked.
Oh yeah,
down.
Yeah. No, we have full-time security.
Wow, very good.
And everything's keyed in, right? And so here's our head of security, and we have, like you guys have in Canada, everything monitored. And if any camera goes out, we have to report it to the regulator. Anything happens, everything is monitored 24/7. Everyone who comes into the building has a key card. Like here's mine, right? It shows, the key card with the so everything's logged in, properly done.
One thing I like, Kiran, it seems like everybody's happy to be working.
Oh yeah, it's great. Everybody's happy to be working. Who wants to be at home like this at this time? Are
you paying them in weed? Why are they so happy?
Oh, no. We have some strict policies around that we talk about.
I'm sure. I was just joking.
What you do, you can't do that, right?
Of course, I was just joking.
Because there's heavy machinery. And then out here is where we stage everything. Remember where I showed you guys before? Staged all product that's coming in, coming out. as we said, we have 3 connexes full of product. I don't know. We probably have, I'd say conservatively 10,000 pounds here right now.
Wow.
And then, and then obviously I showed you last the blasting ring.
Yep.
Well, I can't really take you in, but I'll just pop it out.
Is there any products, some of the messages that are coming in from the, some of the people are saying they want to work for you for free.
Right.
They said that you seem like a really cool guy to work with. What is the question here is, what is your favorite cultivator for your own personal use?
Oh, what I love personally right now is diamonds. Which are the THC crystals that come off the live resin process.
Nice.
So it's actually, so effectively the way live resin is going is you have what's known as terp sauce and diamonds. And I definitely love the diamonds.
Very nice.
Yeah, and that's becoming more and more popular.
And are you guys making dab tabs there as well?
We are. I can dig them up. But what we're seeing in Oregon right now, less so than in California, where Oregon's more of a price sensitive market, the dab tabs don't do as well as like they do in California, the California market, which is less price sensitive.
Like if you have any products that you could show us, like product reviews, I mean, right now might be a perfect time. We got lots of people watching.
Yeah, I don't think I have any product reviews. I just sort of did
not
this
a big deal.
impromptu.
Yeah, no big deal. I was just saying if you did have any.
But I'm sure if they go to Leafly or whatever, they could see some of the, Hush reviews, Exhale reviews, what have you. Yeah.
So
for Oregon.
I've been thinking like, how is this going to affect these cannabis companies over the next 2 to 3 quarters? Because clearly companies, most businesses are going to have a few tough quarters here. Okay.
Right.
Now, as an investor that's sitting here thinking about investing, should we be worried that some of these cannabis companies are just going to shut their doors? Or is the government going to come and bail them out right now? Because the government is saying that they're going to be, supporting small businesses. Would this fall under that category? Like, could an Aurora Cannabis get saved by the federal government? Because Aurora's at like 70 cents right now. It's like crazy. Like we've never seen anything like it. So
I saw that $18 plus to 70 cents or 80 cents. Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? So like, is there any chance? Like, because it's like the nail in the coffin for some of these companies. Like, they're like.
I can only give a U.S. perspective. No one's coming to bail us out. We have to bail ourselves out. And there are 3 questions I ask myself every day. What's my strategy? How do we survive? And how do we thrive? Right? Survival, I'm less worried about given sort of our stock levels and given, the fact that we're willing to stroke our own checks in. Strategy, I think we have a good strategy. And thriving, is going to be a function of being able to survive in order to thrive.
There's a question here. Do you microdose on THC or CBD?
I don't microdose. I don't think you microdose CBD or THC, but I'm a firm believer in concentrate. Because the concentrate is basically the oleoresin of the flower before distillation. I'm not a big fan personally of vape carts with 90% THC. I'm a much bigger fan of broad spectrum. So you actually take the oleoresin, extract it from the plant, either using a volatile or non-volatile method, and you then have the live resin and the shatter. So that gives you basically what the plant, whatever plant you're smoking, or whatever live resin you're smoking, inversely it's just a concentrate of the plant matter from the actual plant.
As an investor right now that's looking at the stock, looking at the opportunity, you guys just recently were at these levels and then you bounced up to 20. Now you're back to these levels. What do you say to some of the shareholders that are watching, that are looking at the price right now, thinking, is now the time to buy? clearly it's kind of the lowest we've ever seen it right now, right? So
Right.
what do you say to some of those shareholders that are looking at the company today and thinking about buying the stock, or maybe holding the stock and thinking about what they should be doing?
The fact that Louisa, that we announced the convertible at 20 cents, 11%, unsecured, where she's going to put up $1 million, I'm going to put up at least 100,000, shows you what we believe, right? So, that's our belief, and I cannot buy shares at this point.
So you guys are going to be buying.
Nor will I give someone a recommendation to do so.
So essentially what you're saying is the money's coming into the company at 20 cents, regardless of what the price is.
Right. That's our view.
So you are personally putting up 100 grand at 20 cents.
Yep. On a convert. Yeah.
On a convert.
And we announced that, I think, Friday.
And can the public get involved in that?
If not really, I can't solicit for our convert. I can't do that. It's only open to high net worth individuals, and it's I can't. It's the lawyers. I can't do that.
No, I understand. That's fine. I just wanted to know in case somebody wanted to invest into the company. So if somebody wants to invest that's watching, the best way to do it is just to do it directly in the open market, right?
It's much more cost effective than a convert at 20 cents.
Yeah. Do you guys hear what read between the lines, hear what Kiran's saying? You could buy it from the open market at, 9-10 cents instead of buying it at 20. So he's saying, buy it in the open market. Now's the time to do it, without saying that. Now, these companies in Canada right now are under some serious pressure. Like, have you been watching what's going on with Kronos Group, Hexo, Tilray? It's gone crazy.
Right.
Are you familiar what's happening?
Well, I see it a little bit. I mean, I'm a shareholder of Emerald, longtime shareholder, so I watch that stock. So I've seen what's happened, but everyone's suffering right now. It's not. But this is where great fortunes are made, right? Great fortunes are made at times of pain. So
of course, but what's happening is they're all having to. I guess they all have impairment charges, massive. Massive.
We all have massive impairment charges.
Correct, and
because remember everyone bought assets at higher levels. So
correct.
I was going over that with my guys. So for instance, I have a facility that I'm going to impair $2 million off of in Cathedral City, right? Because I'm not going to use it for the next 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have impairment charges. I mean, that's just part of life when markets go down. You have to impair the assets.
Yeah, like we see a stock like Tilray, we've seen it go from when it IPO'd around $17, it went as high as $300, obviously on hype, and now it's down to $2.
Right.
So Tilray's really kind of come all the way down now, and they all of a sudden are in trouble. So it seems as though like all the bigger companies that we thought were the biggest and the strongest companies are not necessarily the biggest and strongest companies anymore. They've become some of the biggest spenders, and what's happening is catching up to them because they're just not getting bailed out. They're not getting any money from anyone. They consistently are losing money quarter over quarter, month after month, and it's starting to catch up to them. It's even starting to catch up to Canopy Growth now. So like little by little, we're starting to see that this entire sector is really shrinking.
It is. It's definitely shrinking.
It's consolidating, right?
Right. It definitely is.
And a lot of people predicted that this would be the case, and I guess that is what's happening. So through this, like you said, there will be fortunes that will be made because those that will be left when this does turn around and it does have its bounce, it will be quite spectacular because the stronger ones that will survive will see huge, most likely see huge price appreciation in the multiples because we've seen everything go down so aggressively. It's been violent. Like the HMJI ETF, which is the short ETF, has gone from $20 to $63 over the last year. So if you were shorting cannabis, you could have made 200% on your money over the last year. Like, that's how violently this sector has gone down. So what do you say to investors that have invested in this sector or holding? believe in the sector, but are really like, there's so many people like that, really. What do you say to some of those people? Like, I say I'm just going to hold and wait, find other ways to make money in the meantime as an investor and just wait for those investments to mature. What do you say to some of those investors?
I say what I say to myself every day. What's my strategy? How am I going to survive? And how am I going to thrive?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I say to myself. And you have to look for those companies. And ours is a smaller company, so we don't have a lot of stuff to cut, right? So we're lean and mean. We've sort of campused in South Africa, in Lesotho for our international production. We're picking up distribution, which will be cash flow neutral in the UK until it's cash flow positive. We operate in Oregon. We operate a little bit now in Nevada again. And we operate in California, which is a growth market. And we're just sort of sticking to our guns in those markets. So we're actually trying not to, diversify out of those. And then obviously to us, Canada is a view of being in North America, the second largest market after California. And so we've now found entry into that market. We have a lot of smaller operators calling us up who have dispensaries looking to roll those in at about $1 million a door. So there's opportunity there as well. But I think that's more than enough for us at this point.
Absolutely.
We just have to consolidate where we're at. And, I'm not looking to move into Illinois. I'm not looking to move into Washington. I'm not looking to move into Colorado. I'm just looking to grow our base from where we currently sit now.
Okay, very good. And I have a question from Asher. He asks, ask Kiran when he feels the indoor grow operation in Ukiah may come online and will be Halo owned or in partnership with Ukiah Ventures.
So I was just there, and my view is realistically with an indoor grow, it's going to take 9 months to 12 months to really dial it in. But we have something else up our sleeve for that facility. And hopefully, we'll get an announcement out, subject to market conditions in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. Great. Let's see. Happy Glass says the cannabis industry is here to stay. Which companies will survive is the question. I am betting on Halo. My first buy was at 40 cents, LOL. Every time I seen Kiran, I feel more sure. So they definitely like to hear from you, Kiran, and they, despite the price of the stock, they believe in you and they love the fact that you're really, really transparent. Is there any other news with Halo Labs that you'd like to talk to the audience about while we're live right now?
No, I think we've had a really good chat. People can, I love your show and I love coming on it because it's much more, it's not as formal as other shows, and I can actually be unshaven in my cap and walk your audience around the floor, as opposed to having a mic on and sitting, clean shaven in a suit, in a studio. And that's the beauty of your show and your format.
Well, thank you so much once again for being here. And for anyone that has any questions, please feel free to contact Kiran Sidhu directly. Kiran, which is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
I think we have a PR or IR, I can't remember, at halocanada.com is probably a good way. Otherwise, my inbox gets inundated, and people typically kick messages out to me if they're important that I reach out to people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much once again for being on the show. Thank you for being transparent and showing us your facilities. We love to see the facilities. So anytime you're in a facility, let's try to do this. I know that the members love it and they support you. And regardless of the share price and the fact that the cannabis sector is down, everybody constantly says they love Kiran and they love the fact that you're so open and you speak so freely about everything. And you really have opened up the doors to us in a way that no other company has, to be quite frank, like that I can think of. I mean, we did look inside of Namaste. I can think of initially when Sean Dollinger was involved there. We did a little tour of Canmart when they first got started in Toronto.
Yeah.
But we haven't really done any tours of any other facilities since. And now we're getting a chance to see inside of your facilities. And this is not the first time. This is multiple times you've done this now. So please continue to do that. I really love it. And I know the community does as well. And guys, if there's anything you need, please feel free to contact Kiran or myself if you have any questions for future shows or for anything that we discussed today. Please let me know. You can email me as well, richtvlive@gmail.com. Kiran, other than that, thank you for your time today.
Hey, thanks.
And stay safe. And it was nice meeting you as well in Vancouver. And it's good to see that you're doing well.
All right. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kiran.
Bye.
Have a great day.